everyone, welcome to Raising Vibrations with myself, Simon. Today, guys, what we're going to be doing is just covering the astrological patterns for this full moon in Pisces experience, and just generally chatting around the kind of like understanding that we can get from this planetary alignment, or at least these planetary alignments themselves. Now, I can probably vouch that for you guys and for me itself, this energy pattern has been extremely intense, like extremely overpowering, feeling as if like everything is just constantly falling apart, yet at the same time, it's actually falling into place. It's just the way that we perceive it that's making it look a little bit sort of crazy and hectic. But yeah, welcome to the Neptunian realm, basically, and to the Neptune in Pisces story. Essentially, if you really want to understand the nature of the Neptune cycle through Pisces at the moment, this full moon has and is essentially sharing with us basically all the teachings that are necessary for us on this planet at this point in time. So what I'm going to do with you guys today is just share with you some understandings relative to the Pisces cycle, which I think is not really covered that much. I think there's a lot of information out there about the Pluto square Uranus, and there's a lot of information about how that cycle itself is very important to us, but we're not actually paying attention to the cycle of Neptune through Pisces, as well as the Chiron through Pisces transit as well. We're not giving it an importance, and maybe I'm missing the story over here and I'm not seeing it on the net, or I'm just not seeing it that people are talking about it as widely as the Uranus square Pluto experience. But like I said, this Pisces experience, this full moon, the sun in Virgo, for instance, and obviously Chiron as well, has a lot of information. There's a lot of stuff here that's going on behind the scenes that we need to pay attention to at this point in time. And, like I said, again, it's not being spoken about a lot. And so I'd like to actually share or dedicate some of this video to that experience itself, okay? Well, I hope that sounds interesting. So, right. The picture on the left-hand side, again, it reflects to us a deeper meaning of this full moon in Pisces. As you guys know, I like to use those pictures to convey the message. And what I would like to extract from it is how we as human beings can stand and observe the nature of creation itself, like the totality of creation. And this is a Piscean archetype. This is the 12th house. This is the Neptunian realm. This is where everything exists simultaneously. When we remove ourselves from the physical 3D world that we exist within, and we sort of move into the Piscean realm, okay, we exist within that enormity of everything. So that picture over there, how we gaze into the enormity of space, and it's just never ending. And at the same time, it's so far away, but yet so close to us. And that exists within us as well. That picture, that the enormity of the universe in itself, when we look outside, we look at it and it's like huge, but yet when we go inwardly within ourselves, it's the same thing, So that's the first thing to get from this full moon in Pisces archetype is that you got to connect to that space and recognize that universal force exists within as well. And that enormity and that beautifulness exists within us as well, from a conscious perspective. And then to look at the Neptunian realm again of timelessness, that everything is existing simultaneously, that the idea of time itself is only limited to the human condition and our perception of it, and the past, the present, and the future, etc. And yet everything's existing at the same time, like I said. And we embrace the idea of love and compassion and unity, the unified field of consciousness, the ocean, as it were. These are all these Neptunian experiences. I really hope that I'm stimulating your imagination to understand the nature of what I'm actually trying to express here, that I'm captivating this understanding. And again, this is a Piscean archetype, the imagination. So as long as there is imagination, and as long as there is the ability to activate and understand imagination in itself, there will be creation, because essentially we're creating as we're imagining things. Which will lead us to this fascinating archetype that exists within Pisces, Neptune in the 12th house, is the idea of illusions, where we will essentially create within ourselves illusions, the veil of the Maya, as it were, the veils that cloak our consciousness in itself and make us see things that might not necessarily be true for reality. This is the Virgo Pisces archetype. The Virgo is reality in itself, and we are in the physical, and we're experiencing in the moment, we're being here, and we're in the now, and then we're in the Pisces realm, which everything is abstract and everything is intangible and incomprehensible in that sense, which is why it reflects the totality of creation, because it's incomprehensible. So it's something we cannot understand, yet we can inwardly sense it. So again, these keywords that I'm sharing with you over here about the sensing, this Pisces moon, how am I sensing things? I'm open to everything. The totality of creation itself is 360 degrees. And so when we tune into the Pisces vibration, when we tune into the moon, full moon in Pisces conjunct Chiron and all of this Neptune experience, we are understanding the nature of sensitivity. We're understanding the nature of how we are connected to our environment and how we are unified. So you don't even need to go far to see how these manifestations of unity and we are one and love and etc. are filtering through into our physical reality. And we see this in our Facebook posts as we are the divine creations, etc. We are one, the world is unified field, etc. And that's how it's actually changing. That's what that Neptune in Pisces story is about. It's moving through this archetype, and it's in the same archetype, it's in the same house, it's in the same placement. Pisces and Neptune is the same thing. So we see this beautiful expression of how consciousness in itself, or at least the planetary positions themselves, are unifying our consciousness, bringing everything into one, integrating ourselves. And I would like to kind of share with you guys a perspective, or at least a truth that needs to be really understood from the point of view of the Pisces archetype. And when you're spiritualizing, you have to recognize that we have these dimensions that exist within us. So we have the physical world, which is what we see. We experience it physically. So here's my hands, and here's my eyes, and I use my physical senses to experience it. And yet at the same time, you know that emotions exist. You know an intuitive feeling about something. You have past life memories, as it were, or memories that exist deeply within us that we react to in our lives, that we sort of classify as drama, for instance. We know that these things exist, yet we cannot actually open up the body and find it. And so this is another Neptunian experience as well. It's just that there are other dimensions to us as human beings that exist. And for many of us, we sort of identify this as the spiritual beings. We are spiritual beings experiencing what it's like to be human at this point in time through the physical world, the limitations, Saturn energy. So we experience this and we express this, and that's what it means. Yet at the same time, we got it wrong. And especially a lot of spiritual teachings is that we need to transcend the ego. We need to transcend this world. And that's actually a very damaging distortion, because it's not about transcending. Pisces, Neptune, the 12th house spiritualization is not actually about transcending this world. It's actually about integrating all these other dimensions into the physical. So you're bringing your higher self into this physical world. You're bringing your emotions into this physical world. You're anchoring yourself into the physical world. So you're not leaving this. And this is the reason as to why many of us, and I'm going to do a talk about this in terms of the Pisces archetype and spacing out. But for many of us, the atrocities of our reality in itself are so intense that we will naturally just detach, Aquarius, and then space out completely, create an alternate reality that exists so that we can sort of soothe the pain, Pisces archetype. And one of these ways that can actually manifest physically for us as well is how we work Monday to Friday in this job that we hate, and then as soon as the weekend comes, we go to the bottle store, or we go there or whatever, and we sort of purchase our weed, or you purchase your alcohol, whatever your choice of escapism is, and you escape this reality. And that's so damaging, because, and when I say damaging, I don't mean in the sense of that act in itself is bad. I'm talking about the act of escaping the reality only to have to come back to it on Monday and coming back into the body. It's that thought process, that activation has become so ingrained within our psychology that we instead of actually integrating all of these spiritual aspects into the physical world so that I'm here, I'm present. That's what it means to be present. It means to be integrating all these things into, so that when you're orientating yourself around the world, you're not listening to things outside of yourself to confirm to you the direction that you're going. You're not seeking something outside of yourself. You are essentially connected to your higher mind, which is giving you the direction to go. So when you're on your soul's path, when you're integrating yourself into yourself, and you're following your destiny, as it were, you're just listening to the messages that are emanating from your higher self, from your emotional body, from your inward voice, and then following the heart. That's the center. That's what attracts everything to you. So when you're integrating everything into your body, you're not spacing out. You are alive to your environment. And when you're alive to environment, you can make conscious choices to instinctually. This is where our instincts have been suppressed completely, because the moment that you start doing things that don't allow you to react instinctually to environments, because that's how nature is. You know, all animals, for instance, will react instinctually to their environment that will give them a warning signal to say, no, this is not good, etc. We override it with the mind, and the mind is a computer system. It can be conditioned, it can be controlled, right? So coming back to the integration point, when you're integrating everything in yourself and you're present and you're awake to your reality, you can make the necessary changes in your reality to change it so that you don't have to experience the pain and agony of being in some place that you inherently don't want to be in. Does that make sense? So it's about integrating the enormity into you. It's about layering those things into yourself, being present, sensing. This is this Pisces this Pisces full moon conjunct Chiron. This is what the Chiron is representing to us, this sense of disconnect, okay, which I'm going to go to in the actual astrology itself to show you guys. But this is what I'm trying to say is that at the bottom line of this whole thing is this disconnect, this spiritual disconnect, and Neptune through Pisces for the next 14 years is integrating us, bringing us all, everything is one. So our spiritual selves are connected to our physical bodies and the other way around. And then when you make that connection and you feel that, then you are one with yourself. And that's the ultimate teaching with this transit. That's what it's trying to teach us. Yet at the same time, we can simply look outside of ourselves and see the distortions that are manifesting in our world and go, this is crazy, and then make up alternate realities that exist and space out completely, and then not even at any point in time be able to make a change that is necessary in your world or for the world to heal yourself and to heal the world, to give everybody a chance to experience who you are, your creative divine spark, because you're not here present. You're in another galaxy, for instance, metaphysically speaking at least. So it's so important to take the yin and yang and put it together, the light and the dark, the conscious and the unconscious, the physical and the metaphysical. And this gets exemplified so beautifully through science, where science will come along, it's purely empirical evidence, etc. It's physical reality, it exists, so therefore it's okay. Yet, when we try to apply man-made thought processes to things, we essentially find ourselves limited by our capacity to perceive reality. And that's simple. And then what happens is science comes along and says, nope, debunks God or debunks metaphysical creation. And then metaphysics comes along and says, yeah, but this form of existence exists as well. You know, looking at spirituality from a purely symbolic way. Yet it needs to be conveyed in a way that makes sense, that is practical in order for us to work with it, for it to make sense in our lives. So I can go on for a million days talking about the spiritual dimensions of astrology and not have anybody be affected by my message or by the communication, because I haven't made any sort of practical sense to it. How does it relate to you in your life? So on one hand, you've got the distortion of not integrating the physical, or on science and such, debunking the idea that astrology exists from that perspective, and then astrology in itself not having the capacity to integrate it into the physical because of its metaphysical dimension. And we have this duality in our lives, this separateness, this bipolarization. So from the point of view of this moon, this complete and utter full moon conjunct Chiron, there is a deep message here that is emanating from this experience, that we are all learning at this point in time to recognize that the overwhelming experience that we're having over here is not only to say, hey, by the way, God's here, right? In other words, life force is here, the creator is here, All right, so this is simply the experience of life in itself. It's not anything spectacular in that sense. It's just a weather pattern that we can't control. Simply, that's what it exemplifies. That's what it says. Okay, it's not even as complicated as some guy that created the world in 7 days, etc., etc. No, it is just simply something that is existing beyond the physical understanding that we can have of this thing, and that we are connected to it in that sense, i.e. our souls, i.e. our higher selves, and that when we experience things, blockages, being overwhelmed, etc., we're just allowing ourselves to be more attuned to the connection of this higher expression, because in a sense that is what is really guiding us. We're just experiencing it in a physical world. So when we align our egos, another distortion unfortunately is to get rid of the ego. You can't do that, it's impossible. It's to align the ego with your sense of destiny, your sense of spiritualness, as it were. And if that means that you're doing something that might not necessarily feel the way that you're doing it, you surrender to that process, and later on there becomes this aha moment. Oh, okay, that's why that happened, that's why that happened, that's why that happened. So, the parameters of this experience of this new moon, this full moon in Pisces is so huge. It's not like your normal sort of like new moons and full moons where it's like, okay, this is the message over here. No, this is amplifying, exemplifying the Neptune through Pisces archetype. So I hope that makes sense, guys. I hope I've sort of captured your imagination over there and allowed that to understand. The last thing that I wanted to say just before I go over to the charts is to share with you again the idea of what was I going to say now? The idea of Pisces reflecting the culmination. In other words, the ending of an entire cycle. And when Neptune moves through Pisces, everything dissolves, it dismantles. This is the ending of a cycle, and it gets reflected through that. So you just simply look at any cycle that ends, or if you start reading, when you finish reading a book, for instance, or the closing chapter of a film that's going to take place, you start to see everything sort of dissolve, and the climax is now ending and it's slowing down, etc., and we're getting to this point. Well, from the point of view of Neptune through Pisces, we're also culminating an entire cycle of Neptune through the signs. So we're naturally going to have this unraveling at the seams of all our conditioning. And this is actually how Neptune is functioning relative to Pluto square Uranus. Okay, so Pluto, in a sense, will be talking about those deconditionings, and Neptune is helping that process along as well by ending the entire cycle, erasing things, dissolving stuff. So what I'm going to do quickly over here now is just go over to the charts for you guys and continue with that message, just to share with you how this full moon is working, and then just to add a little bit more about how we are, in a sense, progressively moving into this new dimension, this new space of creation and activation in that way, and how the Jupiter and Leo cycles are working. Okay, guys, so I'm going to quickly go over to that right now. Right, everybody. So what we've got here is the chart for the new moon, which was on a Monday, Tuesday, the 10th and 9th and 10th of, or 8th, 9th and 10th of September 2014. And as you can see over there on the left hand side, I've put there the little picture of where the moon is and what symbol. So it's Pisces over there. So what I wanted to chat to you guys about was this this base note. I think it's really important to understand the outer planets in terms of how they're affecting us at this point in time, and from there sort of like zoom in a little bit more. So I'm going to start with the big planets, the larger cycles, and zoom in, and that's that Virgo Pisces experience again, where we look at the totality of everything from a holistic perspective, and then we zoom into the finest detail as well, the smallest imprint. So at the top of the chart here, you've got Pluto over there, and that's through Capricorn. It's currently retrograde at the moment. So this symbolizes for us that obviously our desires, Pluto reflects our core intentions, our evolutionary path, as it were. And through Capricorn, it reflects to us the nature of time, and also at the same time crystallization. So structures, the systems that we have implemented in our place, the authority. Okay. And Pluto through Capricorn is erasing essentially everything that we define. So the way that we've defined spirituality is changing. The way that we have defined work is changing. The way that we defined everything is changing. which is why there's so much chaos and madness at this point in time, because everything that we have defined before is essentially being eradicated. Now, let's try a little test over here. Let's say, for instance, you've defined yourself a certain way, and then all of a sudden I start erasing that identity, that definition. How are you going to feel and how are you going to react? Yeah, exactly. So at this point in time, relative to our shifting, our transition within this, life that we're living at this point in time, it's completely and utterly natural for us to feel like the world is going crazy because we're changing our definitions, right? Relative to that personal experience that you had, where all of a sudden I just started erasing your life, right? That's what Pluto through Capricorn's doing, erasing everything that we've defined. So there's naturally going to be like, oh, where is everything going? My security, in a sense, is placed in that definition. How am I going to define things now? How are people going to understand me? And so on and so forth. I mean, this is a very deep psychological truth that is taking place with Pluto through Capricorn, but that's what's happening. And then what we have here is Uranus, the square, Uranus and Aries. So we've got Uranus, which is basically deconditioning everything. This is our archetype within nature that basically changes the form of stuff, okay, from its original form to something new, so that it can change, it can evolve, as it were. So there's some synchronicities here. You have Pluto erasing our definitions, and you have Uranus deconditioning, so letting go and rebelling and changing stuff. And it's in Aries. Now, Uranus has this kind of duality in which, or so does Pluto as well. Pluto will kill everything and then give us the opportunity for rebirth, which is where we start to define things in a new way. And Uranus will rebel and change the old forms, but also give us the blueprints of the future. In other words, insights, what is relative to the future, right? And it's in Aries, so Aries reflects to us a complete and utter new evolutionary cycle. So when these two guys are squaring each other in this point in time, we're looking at exactly that. The old definitions being erased and us redefining ourselves, okay, naturally. And then you have this Neptune in Pisces experience where we're ending an entire cycle. So that is a mutation. We're finding it, we're culminating it, we're closing the chapter spiritually in that sense, and it's dissolving at the same time. So that's where the erasing is taking place, okay? At the same time, running parallel to that is Pluto through Capricorn being able to re-empower the way that we condition ourselves relative to the past. And Uranus in Aries is giving us the opportunity to reinvent our identity. And then Pisces and Neptune over there is again giving us the imagination, the coloring book, as it were, the consciousness, the divine blueprint, the imprint that is being integrated into this experience. Can you see how that's working over there, right? So we're redefining ourselves, and spiritually as well, which is why everybody's got this waking up experience, okay? So it's really important to understand those three symbols that are happening over there. And then, of course, with the moon conjunct Chiron during this full moon, you can see now how the smaller story is happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys over here this little planetary alignment that's taking place. You've got Pluto right at the top of the chart in Capricorn square Uranus, and we have this inconjunct, okay, between Jupiter right at the bottom of the chart. And in fact, I'll just show you with my little cursor. So there's Pluto, there's Uranus, there's Jupiter, and there's the Sun, okay? The Sun's making an aspect all the way to Uranus, and Pluto's making an aspect all the way to Jupiter. So Jupiter in Leo represents to us how we are redefining, okay? Remember that redefining thing with bottom line over there. Our philosophy, our creative self-actualization, our special destiny. So we've managed to identify ourselves here in Cancer. We're saying, okay, we want natural living. This is how we want our worlds to be. And now we get the opportunity to feel that special destiny. Allow our natural philosophy to be integrated, right? Leo, our natural special destiny. That's how we actualize our specialness, okay? So it's making an inconjunct to Pluto. So what's happening here is that we've got to recognize this inconjunct, our limitations, that even though we intend to be the president of America, if we are bound by the limitations of say, the citizenship of New Zealand, for instance, well, that's not going to happen unless we go along this process to become American citizens, and then at that point in time go through the whole procedure of becoming, going through their system. So the first thing that Jupiter is making an aspect to Pluto is actually telling us, hey, by the way, it's all wonderful that we've got these special ideas and this creative destiny, and we should fulfill it. We just got to recognize our own limitations. Okay, right? We've got to work within our limitations. We've got to recognize those limitations. And it's a powerful healing experience, because once we recognize these limitations, we can then start to work, accept them and work through them in that way. Okay. And it's also extremely important to have that aspect there, because it's kind of a balancing thing, because with Mars and Saturn being in Scorpio, and Mars, just sort of creating all this power and raw energy, etc., we would need something to kind of like curve our enthusiasm, as it were. Okay. And then of course we have Uranus, which is making this aspect to the Sun. So the Sun and Leo, by the way, are the same archetypes: creative self-actualization, right? Your special destiny, as it were. And we've got Uranus in Aries, and it's making that connection. And this is what I'm talking about, the patience part. Okay, because what essentially happens is that Aries, we have this feeling that we have got something to do, a special destiny, as it were. Okay, and then the next aspect in this thing is the Leo archetype, because it's a fire signs. They're fire signs. So the Leo archetype says, okay, now I have a feeling of what the special destiny is. I'm going to actualize it. Okay. The archetype that comes after Leo is Virgo, and Virgo simply says, okay, hold on, it's okay. You've got all these things, but now you've got to make sure that you don't just waste your energy following mindless pursuits. You've got to kind of like narrow it down. You've got to be practical. You've got to try and integrate into your ideas how you can go about this process in the most efficient way. And so this refurbishment takes place, this kind of healing, this kind of cleansing process takes place of right action. So what's happening here is that Pluto through Capricorn is changing our definitions, but at the same time allowing us for this new definition. Who am I, right? How do I define myself in the world? So, you want to be this spiritual leader, as it were. You're defining yourself like this. And now you want to go and create this wonderful network of people to heal the souls that have been damaged by patriarchy, right? So this is this Jupiter and Leo experience. And then Pluto comes along in conjunct Leo and says, okay, hold on. You've got to recognize that is there a lot of people around you in this area that are spiritually awake? No. Okay, well, then it wouldn't be wise to set up a community here. You might need to move. That's the limitations. And then, of course, with the Sun making the aspect to Uranus, okay, and Uranus redefining our identities and ourselves, then the Sun is saying, okay, hold on. What we've got to do here is we've got to take this one step at a time. Practically integrate into this experience. Where do we go from here? How many people in this country or in this community over here are spiritually awake? Can I ask this person to help me, etc., etc.? So this Uranus and in conjunct to Virgo is helping us become practical. So be patient at this point in time and try and integrate some practical steps into your life that will allow you to find some balance. Okay. If you've got these creative projects that you want to do, look for the practical aspects, understand your limitations, and then through that experience, you find acceptance. And when you accept something, you recognize the divine plan. The moon in Pisces opposed the sun, right? Okay, because the moon is reflecting the sun's story. That's the thing that you got to recognize when there's a full moon. The full moon is actually reflecting the story that is the sun. Right, so you've got to focus on the sun. And of course, the new moon was in Virgo, so therefore it's the new moon Virgo cycle. So all the full moon is just reflecting to us is the polarity, which is acceptance. Acceptance of these limitations, acceptance of the steps that we need to take, our practical approaches, so that we can actualize ourselves, that we can find the special destiny, but in a way that doesn't take forever to accomplish, or that it doesn't peter out into the distance, or we lose hope, etc. Okay? Then the next thing here is obviously Neptune's in Pisces at the moment. So as I explained to you guys before, this is a process of letting go of outdated definitions that might be plaguing the way that you feel you want to do something. Okay, I hope that sounds clear. And transcend these, when I say transcend, I mean integrate yourself into yourself, right? Connect to your higher self, which ask yourself these questions and allow flow to be the case. Allow yourself to be connected to your environment. Sense things around you, okay? If you're sensing something that's not working for you, trust that intuition. Trust that inner knowing. develop your relationship to yourself, i.e. the source, the creator, okay? And you do that with this sensitivity. So everybody's going to be feeling overwhelmed at this point in time and in crises, right? The purpose over here is to just chill, relax, slow down, take it easy, and take it one step at a time, and actionalize yourself and allow the experience to manifest for you in that sense, so that your outward reality becomes reflective of your inward reality in that sense, okay? And then of course you've got the transmutation, the inner value. So you've got Venus in Virgo, you've got Mars, you've got Mercury in Libra, and then you've got Mars in Scorpio. So Mars in Scorpio for the last month has been really, really ramping up the psychological distortions that are existing within us, okay? And it's been bringing it to the surface, and we've had to confront these things, right? And also at the same time, it's been giving us the energy to get going, to feel inspired, right? And now remember those inconjuncts that were taking place, those little green dotted lines with Uranus and Pluto and the Sun and Jupiter, okay? They were helping us stay grounded. Look at the practical aspect of it, okay? Now that Mars, again, like I said, in Scorpio, has been allowing us to get rid of all these psychological distortions that exist within us. And then again with Neptune in Pisces, to let go, to allow it to just dissolve, okay? To breathe, as it were. Essentially, I'm practicing the same thing, like, trust me, especially when doing these videos as well. And then finally, with Venus moving into Virgo, again, the aspect is to find the value in the practical things in life. Find the value in what is needed, and only what is needed at that point in time, and not excess in that way, cutting off, trimming, etc., etc. Okay, guys? So what I'm going to do is just quickly switch back to the main screen. And before I do that, though, I would like to let you know that this Chiron in Pisces conjunct the moon is all about removing the illusion of separateness, okay? That we are essentially separate from creation, that we are matter and spirit are not the same, that there is essentially a difference with us, you know, that because your skin color is black and my skin color is white, and we are essentially different. We're not. Our conditioning allows us for that separateness to take place. Yet we still require food every single day. We still require love. We still, we were still born the same way. We're still going to pass this incarnation the same way. So this Chiron moon experience was about healing and integrating and recognizing that we're all connected in every single way, and the only illusion of separateness that exists is our own egocentric structure. And that's that you extend your love and healing to every single person. Just give somebody a hug. That's why I put the heart over there, to feel the warmth and happiness that exists within creation itself, and to look at humanity from that point of view, and to heal your neighbor, to heal your friend, to see the wound in their own consciousness themselves, and to embrace it, and to transcend, to let go, and to integrate all of these distortions into ourselves, to accept them, and then to slowly but surely dissolve these things, okay? To allow that Pluto square Uranus to happen, that Neptune and Pisces thing to happen, so that we can remove these illusions and integrate ourselves back into creation, okay? And that's obviously exemplified through Mercury in Libra, because Mercury is allowing us to communicate with people in a great way. Fantastic, guys. Well, I really hope that you enjoyed that sort of description relative to the planets at this point in time, and it gave you a strong impression of the message relative to the full moon in Pisces. Obviously, there's so much more to chat about this in terms of the archetype itself. I will be creating a video, around this, and I'm working on something at the moment which is talking about the evolution of us and why the separateness has taken place. It's almost finished, so it definitely has a lot of information in there, which I'll be creating the video for you guys as well, to kind of let you know more about the nature of this Neptune and Pisces experience. So yeah. But other than that, guys, I think the best thing to do, including myself, is to just breathe, take it easy, allow yourself to feel, be in the moment, feel your body, ask yourself, how am I feeling in this experience? What does that experience make me feel like? Is it fun? Is it not fun? These are really, really important things to recognize during this period of time, okay? All right, guys, fantastic. I've put the full moon forecast and written article, which I highly suggest you guys go read after this, in the description below. So please click on that link there as well. I'd like to let you guys know that there's the Pluto Empowerment Journey that's happening this week, Saturday. There's 2 times. There's the 10 o'clock or 10:30 Central European time, which is probably for the Australians and the Southern Hemisphere people. So the information is actually in the description below on the website as well, so go check that out. And then there's also another teaching at the same time, the webinar at 5:30 p.m. Central European time, which is more for my American followers, because that would be the best for you guys during that day. So I highly recommend checking that out. The Pluto Empowerment Journey, it's talking about the nature of Pluto itself. You don't need any sort of like astrological understanding in itself, although I will be sort of sharing my perspective relative to the nature of desire, and I will be talking a little bit of astrology, but obviously it's not something that you require. So come check that out. I will be teaching about how you reflect back in on yourself, how you actualize yourself, how you understand the nature of desire, where it's emanating from our lives, and then talking a lot about the Pluto through Capricorn experience and how to work through this evolution as well. So I highly recommend it, guys. It's only $30 and it's 80 minutes long, and I'll record this for you as well. So if you can't catch the live webinar, just send me an email and I'll send you the recording as well at the same time, okay? Yeah, that's about it, guys. Like I said, check me out on Wake Up World in terms of the articles. Be sure to book readings with me at this point in time. Thank you so much for everybody that has been booking readings with me at this stage. I cannot believe how many people are really investing in their souls at this point in time, and I love the fact that I'm actually able to provide the messages for you. So thank you so much for those of you guys that have been purchasing them at this point in time. And it's not a once-off thing, so you can keep coming back to share more questions. If you don't want to reading yourself, but you want to read your own astrology, that's the same thing. Let's tailor it around whatever it is that you want to know about your own soul's progression. So check out my website, simonvorster.com, under services, and there's loads of information there for you guys to do. And then lastly, if you're wanting to know about how to actually do this astrology yourself, which is my main purpose, to teach you guys to fish for yourselves, I have got the online astrology school, and I think it's a really good price for the amount of content that's there. And obviously there's tutoring that I give after that as well, and I teach you everything that you need to know about astrology in that sense. And it's not even complex. I've really compacted it into a way where it's an intuitive understanding, and all you need to do is just recognize the archetypes that exist, and from there onwards you look at your own symbols and you understand it the way that you do relative to your connection, how it makes it feel for you. So it's really good for beginners and for advanced people as well. It can be just as insightful, because obviously I can go deeper into the archetypes for you. So check that out as well, the online school of astrology on my website as well. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for this. I hope you have a fantastic evening, and I will see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.